Hi guys, as a professional organizer, I've helped many people organize their desks in their home offices and sometimes in their business offices. Today I'm going to share with you some tips of what I've seen works well for people in terms of a productive desk setup. So I think that there's an overarching two-part goal when you are organizing your desk. The first is to maximize efficiency and productivity so that you can get things done. And the second is to create an environment that feels good to be in. Hi, my name is Mika and I'm a writer, and I also own a small professional home organizing business. I'm currently writing a book on decluttering, and as I write, I share some of what I've written for the week on this channel. I usually film from home, but my mom is visiting from out of the country, from Japan, and she's staying with me, so I wanted to give her some privacy, and today I'm filming from my office. As an entrepreneur and a writer, I spend quite a bit of time at my desks. I have an office set up here, and then I also have a home office set up at home, and then I commute between the two. So I'm going to get right into the tips, but I work in a lot of homes when I'm organizing, and one thing that working in so many homes has taught me is that people are so different. We all have unique preferences and responsibilities, and so you'll like some of these tips and then others you might not, and that's okay. A blend of tips 1, 2, and 3 seem to work for almost everyone, and the rest are more optional and can be helpful depending on the individual. This isn't going to be a high-tech video or anything, but it's kind of back to the basics, which it's nice to be reminded of the basics once in a while. So tip number 1 is the space to spread out and work. So you might think, thank you Mika for stating the obvious, but sometimes stating the obvious is good because the obvious can get away from us. Every profession is different, but it's best for most people if your desk isn't cluttered. I can't tell you how many times that a client has said a desk isn't working very well for them, when the ultimate solution ended up coming down to decluttering and kind of eradicating the unnecessary and the outdated and the extra stuff on the desk, and then putting a good workflow system in place. If you keep a fairly uncluttered desk surface, this minimizes distractions, and most importantly, this gives you the space to work. I think it gives you room to be messy and creative if you want. Sometimes when I'm in writing mode, I spread out and my desk looks messy, but it's this awesome creative workflow. This particular office behind me is a public space, like I share this cubicle area with multiple people, so I clean it up and I pack it up at the end of the day. But having this space fairly decluttered gives me that surface space to really spread out and get creative when I want. Now I just want to point out that many people benefit from having a space that's fairly decluttered to be able to spread out and work on their projects, but there's some people who actually work better in a cluttered area or a messy area. Some artists create in disarray and produce beautiful work. Einstein had a cluttered desk. I guess we'll never know how productive he would have been with an uncluttered desk, and there's two schools of thought on this. How much more could he have accomplished with a clear desk? And the other school of thought is perhaps that's the way that he operated the best. The only way to find out is to experiment. Take enough time to form the habit and get used to it. Some people just don't get as stressed or overwhelmed by clutter as others, and some people can't stand it. That's why as a professional organizer, I don't go in with a preconceived notion of what should be, because it's different for everyone. What I can do is continue to gain experience and observe what works well for some people and what doesn't work well for others. I can tell you that for most people, a clear desk where they're able to spread out and work on a project lets them work the most productively. Now getting back to cluttered desk surfaces, there's something called clutter blindness, where your mind starts to automate and tune out things like clutter or distractions that are around you, so we can stop noticing it once it's consistently cluttered. So say our desk surfaces are consistently cluttered, then we become used to it, and then it becomes a habit, and habits are hard to break. If you can't find something, you lose time, and it's frustrating too. The little things that are frustrating can prevent you from having a good day. You can lose efficiency and it's ineffective. Also, if it's frustrating, you might take that frustration out on someone else. The other thing is that we often think that we need more than we actually do. There's a great quote by Seneca where he says, "Until we have begun to go without them, we fail to realize how unnecessary many things are. We've been using them not because we needed them, but because we had them. So I had to look it up just now. Seneca lived from 4 BC to 65 AD. So imagine, like, it's just human nature that we tend to collect more than we actually need. And up until a certain point, stuff is great for us. Like, it provides value, and there's certain things that we could use as tools and we need. But then at a certain saturation point, there's the diminishing returns where it starts to weigh us down and slow us down. So it's just something to keep in mind. And number 2 is to be able to easily access current, reference, and stored materials. So this breaks down to 4 different parts. And you generally want to place these areas by ease of access. So you have current action items. And for current action items, you want to have an area for current projects that you are currently and immediately working on. Then your overall action items. So you want to have an area for overall action items, things that need attention. A good thing to have for a desk is sort of like a inbox. That's a catch-all for all the things that need to get done. Depending on how many hats that you wear or different projects that you have going on, you can have different tiers of trays. But then it's all in one place instead of in random places across the desk or in your office. And some people combine these two, the action items that need attention now and then the overall action items. Then you need a place for reference materials, and then a place to store records that you don't really immediately need. So generally for reference materials and also for storing records, you want a good filing system. So you want to organize your files so that you can find the items and then also other people can find the items. So say if you're not at your desk and you need to call for some reason and have somebody look for a piece of paper for you, you could be able to explain it where it is so that somebody else can find it without an issue. Then you know it's organized pretty well. And number 3 is you want a space that feels good. For many people, a good portion of life is spent working. So you might as well make it a comfortable environment if you can. Your environment and how a space makes you feel has a big influence on you. So why not make it comfortable and feel good while we're there? It could be something simple like an inspirational quote, or a photo can go a long way. A plant or 2 is a great thing to have on your desk. There are so many benefits to plants, and I actually wrote a whole book on plants that I plan to publish sometime next year. I spent a year researching plants and then a year writing about plants, and so there's so much I could say in this video about plants on your desk. But what I'll say is this: we humans have evolved amongst nature. And I think nature and the texture of nature is a huge source of comfort to us. Not only that, but there are plants that are air purifying and they add texture and just like warmth to a space. How you feel is important. Focus and functionality are really important, but aesthetics are important too. Your immediate environment can truly influence how you feel. And if we're spending so much time working, we might as well make it pleasant. I think going back to point number 1, decluttering is an important part of aesthetics and how a space feels too. If you remove distractions and temptations and unnecessary frustrations, not only do you feel better, but your space feels better too. Also, if your space looks and feels good, and you're feeling comfortable and at ease without distractions, you're more likely to be able to focus on your work and get into like a flow state. If you get distracted, then you have to refocus. And studies show that it takes up to 25 minutes to get back to the focus state that you were in prior to disruption. And number 4 is to minimize distractions from other people. So this point may not apply to everyone, but it can really benefit some people. If you work from home and have children or live with others, it helps to have a space to yourself where you can work without being disturbed. If you have roommates that may disturb you, you can do something as simple as putting a do not disturb sign so that your roommates or whomever you live with knows that you're working and it's not a good time to disturb you. It's good to be upfront and set those healthy boundaries with anybody who might interrupt you as you're working. If you don't have a space to yourself, you can also put on noise canceling headphones. You need some kind of ambient music or noise to accompany them, and YouTube has tons of ambient music. The Bose noise canceling headphones are great. I didn't have the Apple AirPods for the longest time and I didn't understand the alert, And I had read an article about how many Apple AirPods, like just one out of the pair, are lost in New York City subways in the course of a year. And I had this unreasonable fear about losing one if I bought them. Until last year, I finally bought them, and I actually use them a lot for the noise canceling feature. I do think that the Bose are superior for tuning out noise, but the AirPods are pretty comfortable and discreet to wear throughout the day. The other thing that you can do is to separate yourself from others and distractions is to turn off notifications on your phone and your laptop for the hours that you're working. I don't turn my phone off, but I turned off notifications from my laptop from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and it's helped me so much with my productivity. You can also just turn off notifications from certain apps or just your personal email or just turn off select devices. But notifications can end up being a big distraction throughout the day, so this might be worth looking into. And number 5 is separating yourself from nearby temptations. So after the pandemic, a lot of us are working from home. So keep things away from you that will distract you. And if that's not possible to do, you can use time restraints so that you don't get distracted. So if there's a TV or a video game or a good book nearby that you can't remove from your line of sight, set your alarm for your finish time, and then that could be your reward. But then you could use time as your boundary and set aside dedicated work time so that distractions are not negotiable or a temptation. And number 6, incorporate some Feng Shui. So Feng Shui is not a religion, but it's an ancient art of placement and also optimizing energy flow, diffusing negative energies, and maximizing positive energies. And one Feng Shui principle is to have a solid wall behind you, because a solid wall symbolizes support and protection behind you. And also if you can be in the command position, which is basically you're sitting so that you can see whoever is entering the room. I found that innately most of us opt for this, naturally without even knowing a thing about Feng Shui. We just feel more comfortable if there's a solid wall behind us because we feel more protected. And then also to be in that command position where we see people coming in, we do feel more comfortable instead of having people approach you from behind. And number 7 is having a water pitcher or a water bottle nearby. Drinking water is good for us. We know that it helps to maintain a healthy immune system, healthy joints, and helps our bodies distribute nutrients to our cells, helps our skin, and staying hydrated improves our brain's performance, improving our ability to concentrate, focus, and think more clearly. And as we go about our day, we lose hydration on a daily basis, and that needs to be replenished. So a really easy way to do that is to keep a big pitcher on your desk of water, and you can infuse it so it's pretty with lemon and lime slices and cucumbers or strawberries. And you can even make it just a very attractive little vessel to set on your desk. But it'll help you to drink the recommended amount of water per day and stay hydrated. And it just, other than making it and putting it on your desk, it's like minimal effort, and it just makes it so much easier for yourself and could be very pleasing and has lots of health benefits to accompany it. And number 8 is to consider using an external monitor. It's great for having a bigger screen to look at, and also when you want to view multiple screens or applications at once without having to click back and forth. For example, if you're referencing something on one screen while you're working at the other. It's also ergonomically comfortable if you set it up right. So I guess it depends totally on your profession and what your responsibilities are, but I'd highly recommend a second monitor. This one has just been so useful. Number 9 is a space to pin stuff up, or a whiteboard or a bulletin board. So just to have a place, it could be a whiteboard, or it could be a bulletin board, or it could be walls above your desk. But to have a place that inspires you, where you can either plan things out or put up inspiration, could be a huge plus for your desk area. This kind of expands your working space, and you can use that space to add visuals to complement your work. This extra space can be great for planning out projects and workflow ideas, displaying and tracking goals, communicating visuals and referencing mood boards, or putting up inspiration, aspiration, and vision boards. It's especially great for planning or sectioning out a big project. So sometimes when I'm working on book chapters, the whole area behind me, the cubicle walls. I fill them with Post-its and take them down as I complete them. So it's like having two big bulletin boards on either side. Number 10 has to do with cable management. Depending on the amount of electronics that you use, I think almost every desk could benefit from an outlet strip, like a surge protector strip. And then also this kind of ties in with the aesthetics of your space and the feeling of your space. But cable management to hide cords, just taking a few minutes to tuck in your cords into a strip that will hide it and keep them tidy is just so worth it, because every day you'll reap the benefits of not having to look at like a tanglement of cords or a lot of cords, which can be an eyesore. Like, it's just much nicer when it's tucked away. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, could you please hit the like button, as it helps more people to find my channel and I'd really appreciate it. If you'd like to see more content like this, please subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.